Welcome to SoulShare, a conversation focused on love, intimacy, vulnerability, and emotional intelligence. This is a different kind of relationship dialogue for those who want to make the shift from the ego-driven to more intimate, spirit-nurturing partnerships that satisfy. Because that's what Black love is. Black love is powerful. Black love is soulful. Black love is a love that you can feel. Give thanks.
Do you think that men select their partners based on what they're socially conditioned to want versus what they actually intimately want?
That's a good question.
All my questions are good questions.
I mean, it might be a little bit of both, honestly. Like, I don't think it's either one or the other, because we are kind of conditioned to, like, you know, when we were coming up, light skin was a big thing, you know, and then, like, into the 90s and 2000s, it was a lot of African pride and culture, so it kind of seemed like it kind of, everything kind of leveled out a little bit. But I think I think a lot of our environment got a lot to do with how we pick our women. But then, you know, knowledge of self-help, a lot of people become assertive, and a lot of times we tend to, you know, you go after what you like, not what everybody tells you is right. Mm-hmm. So it's like I said, it just depends on the individual. Like, so I guess, yeah, environment is a big deal, depending on how you came up or the environment that you grew up in. That really it's probably more environment than you being able to pick your own, you know, making a decision for yourself. It might feel that way, mm-hmm. but it's really big.
But on a much more deeper level, so when I mean by what you intimately want, it's not just about what your preferences are aesthetically. That's not what I mean. I mean more so like the person who is actually aligned with your purpose, the person who's more aligned with what your values are and who you actually connect to, who's going to understand you on that intimate level and help you along your journey to becoming your best self. So that's, you know, what I mean by who you actually want and need intimately versus what you're conditioned to, you know, based on aesthetics and based on, you know, the shallow stuff. So is there ever that moment where men actually address, you know, the woman who actually caters to that intimate side of them?
Most of the time we don't know. Like, it's usually always aesthetics. Like, you outside, wherever you are, a club or the car wash, it don't matter where it is. It's always what you see first. And then everything else falls in line from that point on. Unless it's a situation where the person is somebody that you knew for a long time and you know genuinely that they're a good person. Mm-hmm. So then that may throw out the aesthetic. They may not be physically what you love, you know, to look at, but you know that their heart is there. Then they're there for you. Mm-hmm. You know, so that was probably the biggest difference in who you would choose in terms of somebody that you want to spend the rest of your life with. You know, mm-hmm. Aesthetics is gonna always, it's just no way around it. You know, we hope to get to a point where that's not the case, and a lot of people be like, nah, but it's rare. You know, it's very rare. It's just because a lot of times it's just, I mean, we've been trained, just even from TV, to tell us what we like. So who are we to just say that we can step out of that and say we know what we like? Mm-hmm. We've been taught what we like: videos, TV shows, what you like. This is what you like. Mm-hmm. We telling you what you like. So now you know. Go out and get that.
Well, where's the moment when you start to realize and you start to say to yourself that, you know, I have what I'm conditioned to, you know, what I'm supposed to get socially, and this is what the world is telling me I should have, but then you realize that that's not enough. then at what point do you say that I need more?
Well, I guess, well, to not answer your question with a question, what do I do? Spend my whole life looking for something I don't know I'm gonna find? Or do I stay comfortable with a situation that I don't have a real problem with? I just, every now and again, when I'm having moments with myself, I may have a question, but it's not the worst case scenario for me. It's a doable condition.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do I go out there looking for something not knowing whether it's even out there for me? Because who's to say that there's a soulmate for you? Who's to say that there's a corresponding person that you're looking for that to attach to who I am? That person may not even be here. We don't know. So you have to find that person and hope. So, I mean, how many relationships do I have to get into to know that that's the right person? Is it a initial, like, oh wow, that's her? You know, a lot of times back in the days, remember, most European and white people, they put their kids' relationships together. You're gonna marry Jane. Her family does well. We're doing well, and we're keeping that together. And then that's how they move. The money is good. We know that it'll set up a good life, and we go from there. You know, I respect the deep aspect of it, but a lot of time we don't even have time for it. At least that's how I feel.
Well, you touched on two very important things that I wanna get to. So going back to the soulmate issue. So do you believe in soul? And I'm gonna separate, because I believe in two different types of soulmate. You have the SOUL mate, which is what I think you're referring to, that
Right.
you think you may never find.
Mm-hmm.
But then what you probably didn't even know that you reference is what I call the SOLE mate,
Mm-hmm.
which is the one that you commit yourself to, and the one that you actually have that physical relationship with, and which sometimes may be what society tells you that you should want, and when you go down that road that society has assigned for you. So do you believe that the SOUL mate actually exists, or do you believe that, you know, that it doesn't?
I mean, I think personally, I believe that it does exist, but I also think that it takes time to find. You know, that's why, like, when it's weird, like when we were younger, you know, your parents would be like, you know, don't play, you know, don't play with the, even with you know, boys with girls, certain mothers would be like, don't play with that girl. You know, she, you know, I don't like her parents. You know, based on their background, they don't think that she's good enough for me. And that could be my soulmate, but how would I know? They're already keeping me away from him. Or, girl, don't go over there with that boy. His family, they don't come from nothing. You know, so, you know, it's hard to talk about soulmate, especially when we in a situation where we so trapped in time. You know what I mean? Because soul is about no time, and we restrain to time every day. So how can you find your soulmate? You can find that SOLE mate that you're talking about, because it's a lot easier. Sometimes it starts with, she looks good, she got her things together, nice job, because at the end of the day, you want to have a good family, and you want to raise kids, and you want your kids to be good contributors to society. So you say to yourself, okay, she looks like she's doing well, she's appealing, that might work. You know what I mean? And then you never know, you might actually find your SOUL in that woman, because y'all, the physical traction and just what y'all trying to build together helps y'all both grow together. You know what I mean? So you could find, but it's not always what you know. It's hard, but I won't rule it out. I believe it's there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is a great segue where you also mentioned about arranged relationships and such. So considering that, you know, I guess culturally, you know, we also arrange marriages and, you know, and relationships as well. Do you think that would be much better for us to go back to that tradition of having relationships that are sanctioned by the elders, because the elders of the community who know you and who are able to identify your soul or know your soul, because this is what the elders did, and they found you someone whose purpose aligned with yours, or who they thought would help you, be able to, bring forth your best self, and then you can form unions that were, divine and, for divine purpose. And you had these more sacred unions because this is what the purpose of aligning these two spirits were. So do you feel that that's better than how we're actually going about it, trying to do it ourselves? And, and it's not coming from a place of, a spirit-based place. It's more coming from our ego and what we're conditioned to do. So like moving away from those, ego-based pursuits to more soulful pursuits.
What's funny about that is that, even for the elders, it's a bit of conditioning, right? Mm-hmm. So even, I think, well, in terms of finding the soul, the spirit got to be free, mm-hmm. To find what's connecting with you. And if grandma say that Sarah is better for me than Kelly, then we're left to see how it works itself out. It may be good, it may be bad.
Granny, no, my spirit don't take she, and if Granny's spirit don't take her.
I had a lot of grannies and great aunts whose spirit ain't take to the dark one. You hear what I'm telling you? So sometimes, they funny too. You know what I mean? They don't let them. They got their spirituality to them, but sometimes they funny, man. Or like, I ain't like she too light. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So they funny too. So I guess the whole thing is more or less like we live in a real. It seemed like we getting back to that free world like they used to have in the 60s. Everybody want to be free, they want to be diverse and everything else. And it's great, but let's not overlook the fact that we still got to raise kids that got to live in these societies mm-hmm. as well. And that's important. So a lot of the stuff we do when we interacting as adults, the kids see it. And they develop their own ideas of what it is. Mm-hmm. We want people to grow and develop ideas, but just kind of touch on what you said, man. Like those rites of passages are important, mm-hmm. especially if it's coming from a good place. Because as you get older, you'll know if the people that was trying to set you up, if they were genuine, or if they had something more at stake than mm-hmm. just your love for somebody else or a genuine relationship building. A lot of times it be what they want, Well, you see it a lot in adults, parents, what they want, not what the kid wants. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They keep that same mindset, like you could be out their house, but it's still as long as you live in my house. Yeah. And you paying your own bills. You know what I'm saying?
Now, everyone likes to keep their relationships private, and it's just like, you don't have too many people into your relationships and keep everything private. What do you think about the village approach, where you have people who love and care about you, who are also invested in making sure that your union is successful, and that, instead of having these really private relationships, so that when you get to a point where, you're having trouble in your relationship, now you have no guidance because you've already isolated and kept everyone separated. Whereas, our, culture is, and I'm talking about like, ancient African cultures, is where the village is involved, with, first of all, bringing the couple together, and also with the maintenance of that relationship, and they take that role very seriously in making sure that couples stay together. Do you think that that's what we should also be doing, instead of keeping these relationships separate, that we should be having a core set of friends and family members who's invested in making sure that our unions remain successful?
Villages. Well, I mean, it kind of goes back to the same thing. Like, how important is your freedom into deciding your future?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it may work for some, but it may not work for all. You know, and then some people, they don't question what the village say because that's kind of the culture. That they saying that that's how it should go, then that's how it should go. And then there's some people that they just rebellious by nature. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to tell me nothing. Let me figure out my life on my own. It's mine, you know. And
It's all ego.
well, it doesn't matter what it is, you know. And it doesn't have to be bad ego. It's just my ego,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So, you know, at the end of the day, you know, they either gonna have to accept me for that, or, you know, as they say, we could all just move on.
You know, but ego and love can't dwell in the same space. So when you start to, you know, allow ego into the relationship, that's already a recipe for disaster, don't you think?
Well, if you take the village approach to raising or bringing together unions, those are also different egos that are telling me what to do with my ego. So at what point do we find love? And then what is love? You know, because everybody has their own definition of what love is. So how do we know what they're doing is coming from a love base? It could be coming from an ego base. I don't like that tribe, so you're going to marry here. But they might find a connection, one and two people between those tribes. And that connection could be what bring the two tribes together.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But the village is saying, eat with the village, live with the village. You know, and that village is feeling the same way, but two people meet, different villages, but they feel like it's right for them. So is their ego bad because it's contrary to the ego of the village?
Mm-hmm.